So, hi everyone. My name is Jace. I work at Unity, and I'm on the marketing side. We had a little bit of a mix-up today with the scheduling, so unfortunately, some of my other colleagues were not able to make it. So I'll do my best to answer your questions, and of course, if there's something I don't know or can't get to, I'll be able to take your information, or you can hit me up private in the chat and I can put you in touch with someone who can help solve the issues. Just to be totally transparent with you, we're not using this as a technical support session. So if you're having issues with the Unity editor or if you're finding bugs, we ask that you go through the official channels or the Unity forums, where we'll be able to really dig in and help help you unblock your problem, but at the same time also get the right context for the issue. So with that, let's open up for the first questions.
Also, feel free to ask your questions in the chat box, guys.
So we had we spoke about three different things at Dev Summit this year. The first was Unity Mars, which is mixed and augmented reality studio. So Unity Mars is intelligent AR authoring tool set. The second topic we had was a workshop. This was on AR Foundation. And so what AR Foundation is it's an abstraction layer which sits between the editor and the APIs from manufacturers like Apple, obviously all the Android OEMs, HoloLens 2 and Magic Leap. So in this workshop, what we kind of covered were how to actually get started with the AR Foundation and some of the workflows. And then the third topic we were discussing was part of DOTS, which is the data-oriented tech stack from Unity. And so with DOTS, we're kind of thinking of a new way of building Unity that takes advantage of parallel processing and makes it easier to run games especially, but any high-performing application on multi-core processors. So we had my colleague Yuri, who is one of our principal engineers for the Burst compiler, and he was speaking to kind of exploring those hidden parallelisms and performance that you can find using Burst. So perhaps there's a question that involves our AR or XR extended reality, or perhaps involves some of the DOTS workflows we have, or just more general about the Unity editor, and kind of use that as a jumping off point to see if anyone has any questions around there.
I'll actually throw in the kind of the first question. So AR, VR, XR is kind of a big thing that's kind of coming back right now. And it's kind of something back when I was doing it, it took a little bit more effort because you had to do it on iOS and Google. So on mobile, Mars is going to make it easy to take care of both platforms at once, right, Jace?
Yeah, so I would say, look, I would say AR Foundation would make it easier to take care of both platforms at once, where AR Foundation is going to make it easier to kind of build your application in the Unity editor once and take advantage of those, different features, whether it's cloud anchors, whether it's going to be kind of like being able to do what do you call that, the instant finding of the floor. So any new feature that comes out in ARKit or AR Core is immediately abstracted and available in AR Foundation. And so when you're building an application, you're not thinking about using those native tools, whether it's iOS or Android. You're using the editor and you're finding those features that are already built in. So it takes a little bit of the guesswork out of having to build the application twice. And it also just makes it a little bit easier from a dev standpoint, to your point, to build AR functionality into your 3D applications already. So like a great example of this is the Wayfair app, which lets you place furniture in your room. And so that's built using AR Foundation. And the idea here is that the developers who put this together for Wayfair were able to build the application and not have to worry about using 2 sets of native tooling. So just, again, simplifying the dev workflow and kind of making those features more accessible to developers without having to go back into those native development environments. In terms of Mars, if you're thinking about Mars, I would say we're really thinking about authoring kind of like intelligently. So this is things like fuzzy authoring, where you don't necessarily need to have the exact dimensions of a room or an area to be able to author an AR application. We're giving you some prefab items to try to play with. So I'm just making it a little bit more straightforward to test things in the editor without having to, build an app, compile it, test it on a device, test it on another device, test it in a variety of locations. Mars is really about a more kind of robust way to build AR applications. And so if you're just kind of getting started, you're probably thinking of AR Foundation. And if you're a more serious developer who's run into those difficult use cases of building for AR apps, especially when it comes to like physical locations, this will make it easier for you.
That's awesome. So from my understanding of like the fuzzy stuff, is that also kind of helping any sort of lighting problems that can kind of have when you're setting up your AR?
So definitely it
Detecting the
has some of
space.
that. Yeah, it has some of the lighting aspects there. For sure, there's always going to be some limitations to that in terms of AR authoring, but I don't think that's the main concern. I really think it's like you're considering building an AR application for maybe something that would require, like, I guess Pokemon Go is a great example, where you're in all these different environments. And now how do we ensure that the object that we place down is actually in the right distance, has the right perspective, is actually on the right plane. So it's actually on the surface. And how can we like test this in a way that doesn't need to go out into the field a whole bunch of times to get it right? So Mars lets you have some of that functionality built in.
Do you guys also have a Unity course set up already for Mars?
So Mars, it's because we just launched it this year. There's no course for it set up. There's some demonstration videos, and obviously documentation and forum posts are available to help you get started. I would say the best thing is probably to check out the talk that Dan Miller did at Dev Summit. I could see if I can actually find the link for that. It was really interesting. He covered like the most features, and let me just see where I am here. And the most common use cases for it.
Joe,
So I don't have the actual. Oh, here you
go. While you're hunting for that link, there's a comment from Nikita Pitts. Jace says, sadly, I cannot stay long. I have class here. class soon, but I wanted to thank you all so much for being here. And Mr. Jace, I will definitely look into that robotic simulation facet of Unity that you mentioned.
Yeah, thank you, Nikita. I appreciate that. Pleasure chatting with you. Let me see if I can find the Mars as well. So I put in the product page for Mars in the forum. And so even in the forum, we have an on-demand webinar for Mars. So this is a great way to get started and see all the features. You can also link out to it here. Just remove the UTM. So perhaps I could also take a moment to talk a little bit about the ARM Unity partnership. So, I mean, obviously, Unity's always been mobile first and very mobile friendly. And so there's always kind of been a natural kind of partnership that's existed between the two companies, but we formalized this partnership last year. And the whole notion behind the partnership is really being able to bring more performance to mobile developers and allow them to access, especially when it comes to multi-core performance, you know, from ARM's latest chips, really right out of the box. So we both of our companies see this partnership in a really positive light, and we both really are excited for helping developers get more out of mobile chipsets, making it easier to develop for mobile chips, using ARM and Android, and you know, deepening the kind of optimizations that are built into Unity already to be able to take advantage of new and upcoming IP innovations there. So I know for us, it's a really exciting thing. I know for our community as well, it's something that's really interesting to be able to know that, like, right out of the box, the editor is gonna be just performing really well for whatever latest silicone comes out of ARM's IP, and obviously whatever OEMs decide to take advantage of that.
For anyone currently on this call, did you want to touch on the robotic simulation facet of Unity that was mentioned by Nikita?
Sure. So Nikita had reached out to me and asking a little bit about different programming languages, but he had mentioned that he's studying robotics. So one of the newer features, and I can't really get too much in depth into this because it's a little outside of my wheelhouse, but one of the newer features that we announced last year, this time last year actually, was kind of like a robotic simulation. So being able to simulate different robots in, let's say, quote unquote, real world situations. So maybe it's a factory floor, or maybe it's an assembly line, and being able to see what happens in various conditions with those robotics. I know we have some information, and I think it's in beta. I could also throw this in the chat. And there's also some demos on this page. But as I'm sure we can all imagine, you know, testing robotics is time consuming. It's necessary because we want to obviously get a lot of data and build machine learning models based on that real world data, but that could really hinder deployment. So being able to run these types of tests in a 3D engine not only, you know, reduces costs and not only reduces complexity, but lets you really scale the machine learning a lot faster. And so I think this is really interesting from like a standpoint of being able to create more automated factories and more automated assembly lines using the editor and creating these like really close to real world environments with the editor. And we're doing very similar things as well on the automotive side. with simulated, you know, it would be like simulated driving. So training what essentially ends up being, you know, machine AI in cars, so they can actually have different weather patterns and, you know, different scenarios, a person walking in front of a car, and being able to get the AI and the machine learning up to a point where it's a lot more sufficient before you take it out into the real world. So being able to simulate thousands and thousands and millions of hours in the editor via the cloud. I think we also have something on that if someone's interested. So here's a great Unity simulation page. And I think there's even some examples of what we're doing with some automotive companies to simulate for self-driving cars eventually when we get there, but even before then, to help with current collision detection and other sensors within the car. So some pretty cool stuff, and definitely something that we're seeing a lot more uptick in as you know, real world testing is great and it's necessary, but it's so time consuming and complicated. This is just a way to kind of shortcut this and get started a lot faster.
Awesome, thank you. Would you be okay with some questions about the upcoming Unity 2020.2 release?
So I don't actually know. I might be able to give some details. I'm a little removed from that specific release. I know it's coming soon, a few more months. You know, so look, before we even jump into the release, for sure, the feedback from the community with Unity has been that they want to see more quality out of the editor, more thought behind workflows, behind bugs, behind how products work together. And so we've taken a step back as a company, and I know some of our executives have had blog posts in the summer, like Ralph, and I know we just put another one out from our core engine team, so the director of product management, talking about, you know, us taking a few steps back and doubling down on our investment in, you know, QA, in bug fixing, in workflow, you know, just general workflows in the editor, in terms of also bringing up new features and new products, and making sure that when we launch them, they are on par with what they're replacing. So like a great example of this is Universal Render Pipeline, which is a great graphics pipeline. It is definitely more capable than the scripted render pipeline or the built-in render pipeline that's already there. But obviously, there's some workflows and some features that when it was announced weren't available right away, which sends almost a mixed message. And you know, we get the feedback from the community, and we're taking this information in, and we're saying we need to double down on, you know, what quality is when we're releasing new releases, what bugs are there, and especially what workflows are there. So I think a big part of our releases for 20.2 and then the 20 LTS will be really around making sure the quality of the product is really good, it's more stable, and the workflows make more sense with less bugs and an extra eye to QA. Obviously, as we service more industries, as we build out more features, this becomes more complicated to achieve. And I think something that we, you know, all kind of understand as they're working in technology or being developers is that the bigger the platform or the software, the more areas where it can have some bugs or some issues. So, you know, I think that'll be a big part of it. And I think it's like even here, performance improvements is a big aspect of it. In terms of other features, I'm not 100% sure what the main ones are. I know we're doing a lot of work around the Unity Hub. as well as prefabs. So just making it easier for people to get into the editor and start working right away. And then obviously the hub is there to make it easier to have a variety of versions of Unity running at the same time. I can actually share a blog post with the beta, and it will have most of the biggest improvements here with some videos. Another aspect is as well artist workflows. So making sure that quality of life for artists comes up to the same standard as quality of life for developers. So if you're perhaps not most comfortable writing code and you're more used to just working with art assets and working with visual scripting, you know, we're making it a little bit easier for you to use the editor for your projects and collaborate with the development team. So I do see a question here. ML Engine quite a bit. Yeah, so the ML Engine is, let me get you something.
Hi, Jace. This is Ilon. I'm the one that asked the question. I suppose that
Hello.
since this is Zoom, we can all speak to each other
Absolutely.
normally instead of it being only a one-way conversation.
Yes.
So
Go
I
ahead.
had to join a little bit late. I'm so sorry. Did you give any demo or anything that I missed?
No, we're just doing office hours. In all transparency, we had some other colleagues that were here, but there was some scheduling issues, so it's just myself stepping in. I'm not working on our ML side of the product, but I can
which
grab
one
your
are you on?
information.
AR, VR?
If you more on the AR VR side of our offerings, and obviously always with gaming. But if you want to leave me information, I can see if I can put you in touch with someone.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
sure, for us, a lot of the ML stuff is still up and coming. So there's still some work that needs to be done, and a lot of the tutorials aren't quite there. I can share with you.
Well, AR, VR is also right up our alley too. So we're doing concepts on mobiles and headsets as well. So all of this is
Okay.
quite useful. I also saw your Dan Miller's technical session, which had some amazing product demos.
Yeah, which one did you catch? The Mars one or the AR Foundation?
Both of them. It
Oh,
was
I'm glad
really
you
cool
enjoyed
to see
them.
it all in action. Yeah.
Yeah, Dan is a great speaker. And I put as well in the chat, I'll send it to you here.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Which is, this was, I sent you another Mars webinar that we had done. I know that the folks at ARM will have the one from Dev Summit up as well.
Okay.
And sharing out the slides for it too.
Jason, along those lines, as you're talking about that stuff, I know with Dan's presentations and the one that James did with you guys, when you're talking about your, maybe you can expand on some of the stuff you're doing in the cloud gaming side of things, along with your XR and your Mars stuff, your AR, VR. I mean, obviously you guys are already powering more than 60% of the experiences out there. And I know you've got 25 plus platforms you're supporting. So, you know, maybe you can elaborate a little bit that in those areas, because I know that's a little more your strength. And
yeah, sure. So in terms of AR, VR, there's a few different things that are happening. So there's still the development side and the editor and the tools that exist there. So things like Universal Render Pipeline and High Def Render Pipeline for graphics in VR. So like, for example, we saw the Oculus event, they have all these great games and they look fantastic. And so we're obviously working really hard on the editor side to make sure that these graphics pipelines are optimized to take advantage of the hardware. There's definitely a lot of performance in the new Quest 2, but when you're thinking standalone head-mounted devices, there's still some considerations on being efficient. So we're always kind of working on making sure that the editor is optimized to reduce load times, to let you build out scenes that just, you know, don't have as many gates to them, that lets you kind of do the things you want to do to bring the vision to life. In terms of other tools we have, so a big area where we see AR especially, and to a lesser extent VR, but still important, is in industrial applications. So a product that we have is called Unity Reflect. And Unity Reflect lets you visualize BIM data, so building information management data, on a mobile tablet, so let's say an iPad, or on a computer as well. And it's actually we did a pass as well with ARM discussing it, but the use case is I want to say it's pretty straightforward. And for a lot of people who don't work in the industry, it might not seem revolutionary, but it's a massive step forward from where they're currently working. So if you can believe it, in a lot of construction sites, whether you're thinking about a renovation or whether you're thinking about something like building a massive new commercial or residential tower, there's still a lot of paper plans that get put into place. Part of the challenge is that as buildings are built, there's obviously tolerances and there's obviously changes that happen. So making sure that everyone's up to date on those changes, making sure that the right things are going in the right place is often extremely challenging as you're putting up these larger projects. So what you have here is you have Unity Reflect, which takes in this information from a Revit, for example, or another CAD software, and lets you actually see the information in real time on a device like an iPad. And it lets you understand where things need to go. So where do windows go? Which type of windows need to go there? Where the HVAC system goes? What exists behind walls? So if the building is already put up and this information is fed into Unity Reflect, then you can actually see, okay, I know if I break down this wall, for example, there's an electrical conduit or there's a lot of plumbing, and I know that it would be probably to my detriment to do this type of work in the building. So we're really noticing that this is a massive problem in the industry that's used to working on a lot of paper plans where things are happening and changing in real time, but the information's not flowing to the workers or the engineers who are on the site properly. And so we're solving this huge problem using AR and Unity Reflect. The nice thing with Unity Reflect, I mean, there's still a programming component to it, don't get me wrong. And you definitely need to have someone with C# at some point, but we're making it a lot easier for just architects and engineers who don't have that experience to transfer this information over and start visualizing without having to totally learn the editor on their own. And going a little bit further with Reflect, we're allowing you to actually, we're allowing developers specifically to build on top of Reflect to extend its capabilities and to add a little bit of functionality. So if there's a specific project that they have in mind, or if they're looking to build their own solution on top of it, Reflect is a product that makes that real. So that's one huge use case we see for AR, especially mobile AR, is in that field. I think a few years ago, if you think about it, it was like that sales and marketing where maybe you're visualizing a new tower going up or a home and you're showing people different cabinetry, or you're showing someone, an office, this is what it looks like with cubicles. This is what it looks like as an open plan. Here's how the glass offices look. And that's just like a small part of the actual industry, kind of where it's going today. It's really a tool that's going to be used to make the building process a lot easier and a lot more obvious, and take some of that guesswork out of it for especially the engineers that are on site. When they're on site, they have that info, as opposed to always relying on plans that are out of date or things that need to be recompiled and rebuilt and resent out onto the field. Oftentimes, the architect firm or the design firm of a building is located in a completely different city than the engineering and construction is actually happening in. So there's a disconnect between the people that are working in the offices versus people that are working on site.
So if you're able to add functionality to it, would you actually be able to add functionality to determine if the sun rising or setting would be shining into office workers' eyes? Because I've worked in an office where they didn't take that into account, and so we had to wear sunglasses while working.
Yeah, I think that's already baked in, where they had those type of simulations. And definitely, we even have our own tech demos for using VR. So you put on an Oculus Rift and we show you different scenes. So we show you, and if we were at a conference, I would maybe have this to actually show you, but we show you like morning light, afternoon light, and dusk, dawn, and night. So you can see what you're actually getting, because obviously, like you, we all know the issue of having too much sun in an office, the heat, the distraction, and you know, these are like issues that you're hoping your architect and your engineering firm are thinking through properly, but sometimes they're missing it. So this is like just another tool to make that a little bit more visual and real. For sure, when it comes to like AEC, the big use case was that sales stuff, and now we're kind of seeing in the building area where things are going, and even going one step further. You know, we're even seeing it as being used as a training tool, not Unity Reflex specifically, but AR applications where, you know, if it's a specialized piece of equipment that the person on site may not be totally familiar with, now an AR application provides the manual and guided instructions on how to get there. So, you know, filling that gap for, you know, the massive knowledge gap that's coming, where a whole bunch of very skilled laborers are retiring, and the people that are replacing them might not have that knowledge. So I think HoloLens did something cool with this, where they let you capture, yes.
They were doing that for automotive factories, and it's massive in industrial manufacturing as well, but HoloLens, of course, never really took off. But if you can create this in Unity AR and put it on an Oculus or
Well, you've done this stuff with all the platforms, right? Like I said, so HoloLens and ARKit and ARCore, and so I think that's pretty cool to be able to have all of this in real-time capabilities like that across multiple platforms, including the stuff you've done with us. You know, so that's pretty amazing. Sorry, we're dominating a little bit. I saw Cisco, you joined. Any questions? We have Jace from Unity, and we're talking about some of their Mars and AR platforms, or we can just kind of continue along this for a moment or two.
I don't know. I think the AR VR stuff is amazing. I have an Oculus Go and an Oculus Quest here, and it's just mind blowing.
I know there's some skepticism from perhaps like mainstream, but when you're looking at enterprise, or you're looking at businesses, or you're looking at people that are like early adopters like yourself, it's a really, really cool piece of technology. And you know, you really see the possibility when you try on for the first time a VR headset, and you're like, wow, this is really something else.
I was blown away. I mean, I had looked at the
yeah.
HoloLens, I had looked at some of the early Magic Leaps, but once I put on the complete virtual reality, it was just mind blowing. But I don't think the virtual reality will be suitable for manufacturing and automotive, whereas the AR that I haven't really played with, but after seeing all the Unity talks at this event, I'll go and check them out. That sounds
yeah, the AR stuff is fantastic. And even, you know, like even in certain use cases, like for example, my father, he works in automotive sales, and so I was visiting one day at work prior to COVID, and he took me to the garage, and I saw that they had, all of them had iPads working in the service center, and they're all like doing the service with an iPad with AR, where it's actually telling them, you know, what to look for and what to actually do. So it was really fascinating to see that like in action. You know, it's something that's so tangible. And like my father's older, he's 60, and so, you know, to see that like someone who's older, he's like very intrigued by it also is a really cool aspect. I know we've talked a lot about like internally, our director of XR, Timony, has talked at some conferences about, you know, having that AR, but also having that context. So having these AR applications, for example, know that you've come home from work, and so they'll start, you know, showing you things about what to prepare for dinner, or maybe they'll start showing you some like exercise videos. So having the understanding of like where you are in a space, but also what time it is before it presents you that information. maybe you would start your day with AR glasses, for example, and put them on, and it would give you, the traffic, the weather, meetings you have. And then as you come home at the end of the day, it's kind of switching gears a little bit to, I don't know, sports, or what to eat for dinner, or, how to exercise, or what to do, or things of that nature. So like, even though it's cool in the enterprise today, and we see the use case, I think in the consumer world, when we get to that point where there's like a little bit more advancement, I think we'll even see more interesting cases for it. I don't know if anyone caught the keynote from Facebook. I thought what they were talking about for AR was especially illuminating.
Yeah.
So we've had people join, and you may have seen Lauren's note in the chat. To everyone, if you have questions, we've got Jace from Unity, who's just hosting general questions around AR, VR, and some of their Mars authoring tools that we've had presentations covered over the last couple of days. So if you have a question, please feel free to drop it in chat or chime in.
I feel like I've been dominating. But honestly, this kind of tool, after seeing the demo in the technical sessions, those kinds of tools where you can create this world is exactly what got me into tech long time ago. It's so exciting. I mean, long time ago, it was developing adventure games in BASIC, so not quite as immersive as AR, VR. But yeah, these tools look so engaging.
And what project are you currently working on? If you feel free to share, obviously. I don't want to put you on the spot.
That's okay. No, we do lots of concepts to spotlight the strengths in hardware. So we create software. We create software prototypes to demonstrate how powerful the hardware is.
Okay. What type of hardware?
ARM-based.
Oh,
everything
okay.
From mobile to medical wearables to security, spotlighting how security functions on ARM devices. Yeah, it's like
I'm sorry, Lon, please continue.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to ask Jason if there's any highlights you could give to everyone and the newcomers about the Mars tool that you might want to touch on, that some people who just joined. If there's anything you can talk about, maybe give us some highlights there if you're comfortable.
Yeah, sure. So first off, I highly recommend that if you haven't already seen it, to check out the Mars talk we did at Dev Summit. So that was Dan Miller. He's one of our tech evangelists, and he spoke to kind of like the tools in a more in-depth way. But what Mars is so I'm just going to take a step back because I feel like it warrants this. So when you're authoring for AR applications, typically you're concerned about the device manufacturer or the software manufacturer's kind of APIs and their tools that they have. So as you know, it's complicated to create an application for 4 different devices, 4 different systems. So we have something called AR Foundation, and essentially it's an abstraction layer that sits between those device manufacturers, so AR Core, ARKit, HoloLens 2, and Magic Leap 1. They're SDKs and APIs, and it makes it easier to build the application once for all the platforms. So if you're thinking of building just a basic AR app, say like a ball bouncing, or if you're building something and you want to just get started, AR Foundation with the Unity editor, and you don't need to pay for anything to use these tools, kind of gets you there and lets you get started. Unity Mars is a newer tool for us. Unity Mars is really existing to take this into another step. So this is not necessarily the kind of like AR face masks that we see that are so popular on Instagram or Snapchat. These are more robust tools for professional creators. And so what this actually means is, this means that the authoring tools are more complex. They let you do a little bit more. They let you test experiences, for example, without having to leave the Unity editor. So a common pain point is, having to go into the real world and test experiences in a variety of different areas. And use case could be like, we see this often where people are creating AR apps for museums. The museums are moving, you don't know what the area is gonna look like. And so every museum, you need to send someone, hypothetically, test it and make sure it works. You know, a tool like Mars takes some of that guesswork out for the developers. Another aspect of Mars is kind of the fuzzy authoring. So being able to, author something and give it a little bit more of that space. So it doesn't necessarily have to be perfectly leveled or perfectly set up within an area. Fuzzy authoring is a little bit more responsive in that term, that point of view. And then, I think another big part of it is being able to kind of bring in a lot of data that you might have for a given scene and create the application. Finally, with Mars, you get some WYSIWYG editing. So we give you some prefab aspects that you can work with and play with. So that's kind of like Unity Mars at a high level. We offer a free trial. So the pitch is we offer a free trial, give it a shot, but it is more of a professional authoring tool. So it's not something that we necessarily see people jumping in on just to play with or just to kind of understand. This is really something where you're thinking of building a more complex AR experience and you want a tool set that's a little bit more robust than the editor would give you.
Thanks, Jace. Yeah, I posted while you were talking. I posted the link from Phil at Unity, who did the blog for you guys. So then we had a question from Cisco in the chat. For automotive applications, are there any plans to cover functional safety? Is that something you could speak to, or is that something we have to maybe come back on another time?
I would just maybe like functional safety in what regard? Could you just elaborate a little bit on that? I'm definitely gonna have to come back to you, but just because I want to make sure that I'm getting the right information.
Cisco, go ahead and drop off mute and explain if you want.
Yeah, sure. So if you also enable my camera so I can see. Okay. So if you think the application where you can actually do some AR and show the indication on the road, where the GPS indication on the road, where go left or right, or the speedometer and stuff like that. So those I think are maybe no really high level of functional safety like AZ-lay or AZ-B, but it requires anyway some level of functional safety. Just wondering if you have in plan to do anything about that, because in automotive everything should be safe, right?
Okay, yeah. So we're definitely very much interested in the whole HMI area. So being able to take advantage of obviously the various screens that are already in your car, the various screens that will be in your car as we move forward. And then as you kind of go on, you'll see, I'm sure, that we'll have intelligent screens. I think this already exists. I know Mercedes does this quite a bit, but just where the glass panel itself can be used to present data, and then the importance of eye tracking, so being contextually aware of where the driver is actually looking to bring him the right data. So it's definitely something that we're working on. I don't know where our offering currently is. I think it's pretty nascent. But we're there. I can share with you, I don't know how great it's going to be for what you're looking at, but I can share with you a link for our white paper on the subject. Hold on one sec. Yeah, I'm sorry that you have to fill out a form. I actually might be able to, if I have it, I'll just send it to you via the chat also. Sorry,
I can fill the form, no worries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suspect Unity already has your information on hand.
Yeah, I'm sure we have a lot of information. I just, I know not everyone wants to do that. It's not always fun. You're talking to someone from the company. But if not, I'm just going to see if I have it here.
We've always had good experiences talking to Unity.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
This goes on my team, which is why I know that his information is in your system.
Yeah, no, I don't have it here on my computer.
It looks like we have quite a few links to get through, blog articles.
Yeah, obviously, like poke through them. I know we're doing a lot more work there in the HMI world, in the automotive world, but I don't know where we're at with it. And it just seems like from my quick research online, I don't think we're ready to fully share everything about what's going on. But I would keep an eye out because I think more is coming soon. And
Cool.
could be interesting. Yeah. It's not here.
Do you
Right.
think that there's any scope for, so the future world of like virtual events and physical events, a hybrid of sorts? Is it easy in Unity AR VR to create a hybrid experience, like for some of these intelligent AR concepts that we might want to demonstrate? Would you have to
So something that's both an AR and VR together?
No, both consumable on a computer through a browser, for instance, or through a headset, and consumable at a physical event.
So yes, yes and no. So yes, in the sense that if, like, let's say you're thinking of an AR application that you want to have on a head-mounted device and a mobile device, pretty straightforward. In terms of VR, yes, it's pretty straightforward to create an experience that's VR, and then obviously have something that's like a 3D worldwide experience that you're navigating with the mouse and keyboard on your computer. I think the harder one is like with a computer is if you're relying on any type of real world data or you're overlaying something onto the real world, then the computer is much more limited in what it can do.
But in
And
terms
then I
of
also think, oh,
the
sorry, go ahead.
in terms of using the Unity AR engine, would we have to do the work twice, or can we recompile for the different platforms?
So I think where we would want to do the work twice is in terms of graphic fidelity. So if you're thinking of like high-end VR experience, for example, PC VR that might have advanced lighting, might be, let's use the word showroom quality. So that would run well on PC VR, that would run well on a PC. That's the same experience for both. Would it need to rebuild it twice?
Okay.
If you're talking about going from like, let's say a Quest to PC VR, and there's a massive difference in graphics, then you might need to build the experience twice using two different render pipelines that we have. It's not to say that the work that you're doing, some of the coding, some of the assets that you have need to be done 2 times over, but you would need to be essentially compiling 2 different applications.
Okay, good to know. Thanks. Sounds like fun.
Yeah, I think there's like, a lot of work, both from Unity and just from the industry in general, to make this more user-friendly and accessible. So you see like there's a lot of competing technologies, a lot of competing hardware platforms. My guess is that we're going to see even more advances coming up in these fields over the next few years, where there's a little bit more like convergence on what's being done.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Well, thanks, Jace. Any other questions from anyone else on the call? Wanted to ask real quick, and if not, we're going to start to just wrap this down and wind down and say thank you to Jace and for everyone who had questions around this material, and Jace for stepping in and talking about the Mars presentations and the 2 presentations from your team over the last couple of days at Dev Summit. It's been fantastic, and we really appreciate you and the guys from Unity doing all of this with us.
Yeah, and I put my email in the chat here, so if you have a question or whatever, send me an email. Please don't be shy. And even if I can't answer it, I will do my best to get you the answer if I can, and if not, put you in the right direction. And thank you, Steve, for having us and for having me at Dev Summit. It's been great working with you and the ARM team, Joe, Alex, obviously. So I appreciate it, and thanks for those who came to participate today. Let me know whenever you guys want to wrap up and log off. And
Okay.
like I said, feel free to. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to say thanks. No, yeah, no, Jace, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and wrap it now and leave your information for a minute, and then we can follow up and post from there. But thank you very
I
much.
just got another question from Cisco. So what are you most excited about for AR, VR? So I guess for me, the thing that's the most exciting is, and I talked about it a little bit before, is having that context to these experiences, and really being kind of like aware of what's going on around you, to augment those experiences. So, I think today, like, we think about it, the phone kind of knows where I am. It kind of has a good idea of what's going on, but it doesn't really have like the real context for me. It's not always displaying information that I want to see. Like, I don't want to get a work email at 10 o'clock at night. And until I tell the phone that, it'll send me work emails all night if I don't tell it to stop. So I'm excited for the day where we're using sample AR, VR glasses or whatever it might be, and it's giving me the context that actually makes sense for me, where I'm at in my life. So perhaps we spoke about cooking. So if you're completely new to it, maybe it's telling you how to chop. If you're more advanced, it's maybe telling you corrective measures you could be taking to improve your experience. Even exercise, we see these like smart mirrors. So it's great if you're new to it, but if you're more advanced, perhaps it's telling you, it's noticing how you're breathing, and it's giving you tips that might not help someone who's starting out, but might be super valuable to someone who is more advanced. So for me, I think I always view context of these experiences being so key. I know that's more than just AR and VR. That's like distributed computing, that's definitely better connectivity, that's machine learning, that's better software, it's all of that. But I think as we get kind of closer, like Netflix, recommending movies, and it always is off for me at least. Having the context of, okay, it's Saturday night, you want to watch something exciting, as opposed to it's like Thursday evening and you're trying to wind down. That's like really where I see all these applications kind of coming together to create something that's more meaningful in people's lives and more helpful.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so, well, anyone else? We'll open it up one more last time. If not, we'll let Jace have a few minutes back, since he graciously stepped in this afternoon to fill in a couple of time slots.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, again, Jace, thank you very much. It's been a complete pleasure.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you very much.
have a wonderful afternoon, everybody.